Arahan Sammasambuddho. Arahan Sammasambuddho. Arahan Sammasambuddho.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Vesak greetings, everyone. In ancient India, the months of the year were named according to the alignment of the full moon with certain constellations. Vesak, which is a shortened form of Vesakha, is a month in which the full moon aligns with the constellation Visakha. Now, this usually falls in May, according to the solar calendar. Theravāda Buddhists believe that on the full moon day of Vesak, 3 momentous events happened. Number 1, the birth of Siddhartha Gautama. Number 2, his attainment of Sammasambuddho, or perfect self-awakening. And 3, his parinibbana, or final passing away from samsaric existence. The actual dates of these events are still the subject of debate among archaeologists, historians, and Buddhologists. However, for practicing Buddhists, the exactitude of these dates is irrelevant when compared to the significance of these 3 events. So today is a convenient day for Theravāda Buddhists to celebrate and commemorate these 3 events all at one go, instead of having 3 different times of the year. We celebrate the birth of Siddhartha Gautama and his perfect self-awakening because these events are instrumental for us to receive the Dhamma that he had realized. We are so fortunate and grateful for the Buddha's great compassion to share his profound knowledge and experience of the Dhamma for our long-term welfare and happiness in both the worldly and spiritual senses. We celebrate his parinibbana because he was finally and totally liberated from samsaric suffering. Even though Siddhartha Gautama attained perfect self-awakening at the age of 35, he still had to undergo the suffering of having the 5 aggregates. For example, he still had to put up with incessant mental activity in response to continuous sensory impingement. As long as our 5 senses are in good working order and a prominent object comes into their field of awareness, we have no choice but to experience them. And so there's this incessant mental activity of responding to these experiences through the senses. And that is a great suffering itself. Not to mention having to put up with hunger and thirst, exhaustion, discomfort due to insect bites and the weather, sickness, aging, and so forth. The death of a loved one, to most people, is a solemn and sad affair. But for knowledgeable Buddhists, the parinibbana of a revered Arahan like the Buddha is an occasion for rejoicing in his final liberation from all forms of samsaric suffering. Not only should we celebrate these 3 events, we should also commemorate them. And the best way to do so is to practice what he taught us. As we all know, the Buddha, as he lay in between the twin thala trees before his parinibbana, told his monks that the best and ultimate way to honor him was by practicing the Dhamma according to the Dhamma. For lay people, that can be summed up as dana, sila, and bhavana. It is well known that Malaysian Buddhists are a generous lot because they are targeted even by fundraisers for projects overseas, abroad, in first world countries. With the global economy plummeting and unemployment rates soaring, compassionate giving has to be tempered with the wisdom of discretion. Give only what is really needed by the recipients and well within your means. Times are hard and mobility restricted. Now is the time when a lot of people experience the truth of this English saying, familiarity breeds contempt. When you are locked up in your own home, close to your beloved ones, continuous or prolonged proximity with them can trigger off a lot of irritation and negative reactions. And so we have to be extra careful with our physical and bodily conduct so that they are not harmful to us or to others, whether psychologically, emotionally, or physically. And that, of course, includes the SOP for the prevention of the spread of the coronavirus. However, for us to be able to effectively restrain our verbal and physical behavior, we need to cultivate mindfulness and clear awareness in order to be able to properly and effectively restrain our verbal and physical behavior. And a good foundation for mindfulness and clear awareness to operate effectively is composure, samadhi. As you all know, the Buddha had given many different ways of developing samadhi or composure to his monks and nuns. But for lay people, his recommendation is usually the 10 anusatis or recollections. And the first one is Buddha Nusati, recollection of the virtues of the Buddha. I think that of all these 10 anusatis, recollection of the Buddha is most appropriate for us because this is Vesak Day and we are celebrating the events connected with Gautama Buddha. So let us try to establish a good foundation for mindfulness and clear awareness by developing composure. And in fact, we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone without breaking your first precept. Well, we recollect the virtues of the Buddha, and in that way we honor the Buddha. At the same time, we develop composure. So we are killing 2 birds with 1 stone and not breaking the first precept. As you all know, there are 9 qualities of the Buddha that are listed in the Itipiso formula. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with that, but we won't go through all of them. We'll just do the first 2. Arahan and Sammasambuddho. There are various ways of cultivating Buddhanusati or recollection of the Buddha. And one way is by recitation, reciting verbally, and then when you are fluent, then you can recite mentally. So I want you to listen very carefully to this video clip that I'm going to play and try to follow the chanting. And after that, I shall explain in more detail the meaning of what you chanted.
Arahan Sammasambuddho, Arahan Sammasambuddho, Arahan Sammasambuddho. Let me kill the perfectly self-awakened one. Without secrecy, perfectly self-awakened one. We were the perfectly self-awakened one.
Let me start with Sammasambuddho, because it is repeated 3 times and it has the same meaning, whereas Arahan has got 3 different meanings. Now, the word Sammasambuddho can be broken up into 3 parts: Dhamma, Sam, and Buddho. Dhamma means perfectly or completely. Sam means by oneself. And Buddho means the awakened one. So the Buddha was perfectly self-awakened. We, as disciples of the Buddha, need to rely on the Dhamma preached by the Buddha and transmitted through the ages by the Sangha in order for us to understand the Dhamma and realize it. And nowadays, the Dhamma is no longer transmitted through the Sangha only. It's now available in print, in a digital format, so it's available to anyone who has the interest to study them. And of course, many of us have studied the suttas or translations of the suttas many times, many suttas. We have listened to many Dhamma talks. We have read many Dhamma books. We have gone in and out of retreats, but they are still not enlightened. But the Buddha was fantastic. He never depended on anyone in his last lifetime to realize the Dhamma. He discovered it by himself, totally by himself. And it was not a partial realization. It was not a half-cooked or half-plastic realization. But it was a perfectly complete one, and he did it all by himself. So, you see how great the Buddha is? When we look at our own minds and we see how much defilements we have arising and passing away, and almost all our activities, whether mental, verbal, or physical, are motivated by defilements, and we can't even control them. But the Buddha, he did it all by himself, and he realized perfect self-awakening. The word Arahant can be interpreted in 3 ways. The first one can be broken up into 2 parts: Ara and Hang. Ara means enemy, and Hang means killer. You might wonder how the Buddha could break the first precept. But actually the word enemy here is just a metaphor. Our real enemies are not outside us. Our real enemies are within us, our own defilements. So the Buddha has vanquished all the defilements, all the mental defilements of greed, hatred, delusion, envy, jealousy, stinginess, disappointment, frustration, rage, lust, everything. There's not a single iota of defilement in the Buddha's mind. So that's why he's called an enemy killer. He has vanquished all the mental defilements, which are our real enemies. The second way of interpreting Arahan is breaking the word up into A and Rahang. A means without, and Rahang means secrecy. In the world, when people are up to some fishy business, some illegal or unwholesome things, they tend to do it in secrecy. They pakat and conspire in secrecy, making sure that their phones are not tapped, that they are soundproof, there are no eavesdroppers around. And that's how they conspire to execute unwholesome evil things. But because the Buddha is completely purified of all defilements, he doesn't have any such unwholesome evil intentions at all arising in his mind, not to talk about manifesting in speech or action. So the Buddha doesn't have any need for secrecy, and therefore he's called Arahang, without any secrecy. Finally, the last Arahang can be interpreted as just one word, which means worthy. As you can see, the Buddha has completely vanquished all the mental defilements. He is absolutely pure. There's not a single iota of greed, hatred, or delusion in him, nor any of the other permutations of them. And therefore, he is really, truly worthy of our gifts, our hospitality, our reverence, anything to honor the Buddha. And so he's truly worthy. And because he's worthy, he's truly worthy of all these things, then whatever reverence that you give to him, whatever gifts that you give to him, whatever hospitality that you give to him, whatever praise that you sing for him, all these are very meritorious and will give immeasurable benefits in the future. And so he's really worthy of all these things. There are 3 parts involved in this chanting of Arahan Sammasambuddho. The first part is to memorize the words as well as the melody. You might be able to follow when the MP3 is turned on or the MP4 is turned on. You can see the words, but when they are turned off, then you may forget the melody, you may forget the words. And so the first step is to memorize the words and the tune and the melody. And you can see also that the melody itself is very harmonious and peaceful. Even if you don't understand the meaning of what you chant, just by chanting according to the melody will help to calm your mind and make it composed. So if your mind is busy trying to memorize the words and the melody, then you wouldn't have the time to think of this or that. You wouldn't have the time to worry about the past or about the future. And so therefore the mind becomes composed. However, after one has become fluent in memorizing the words and the melody, then it becomes easy and the mind will start to run off and think of this and that. So when that happens, there's a second step that you can do to keep the mind busy again. And that is either by understanding every syllable that you chant, every word that you chant, or by visualizing a Buddha image or your favorite Buddha images. So it depends on what sort of person you are. If you're a person who is more inclined to understanding things, then you could try to understand word for word as you chant, or syllable by syllable as you chant. However, if you're not that type, you're not so intellectually inclined, but you are more of a visual person, you have the ability to visualize things, then you can visualize the Buddha image, a favorite Buddha image, or a few of them, one at a time, as you do the recitation. Okay, so this is the bhavana part of it. We are killing 2 birds with 1 stone. We recite the virtues of the Buddha to honor him. At the same time, we are developing composure. And that composure can help mindfulness and clear awareness to operate more effectively. That is to say, catch our intentions, process them wisely before we speak or do anything, or even before you continue to think. So in closing, I hope that all of you will be able to bear in mind what I've just said, recollect it, remind yourself to put it into practice, and look back at your mind often to catch intentions and act upon them wisely. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Enemy to the perfectly self-awakened one. Without secrecy, perfectly self-awakened one. We were the perfectly self-awakened one.